vilayad Vishnau nirvishesham vishen munihi jale jalam vyad vyomni tejas tejasiva yatha upadhi vilayad Vishnau nirvishesham vishen munihi jale jalam vyad vyomni tejas tejasiva yatha upadhi velayat Vishnu. On the dissolution of the equipments, the sage becomes one with Vishnu. Vishnu refers to the all-pervading reality, which is Vishnu. Just like water with water, light with light, space with space. Jale jalam vyat vyomni, space with space, tejaha tejasi. These are the words that talk about water with water. Jalam is water. Vyat is space. Tejaha is light. Interesting. Again, 3 examples. On the destruction of the limited equipment, the sage becomes one with Vishnu. This is the dissolution of the, what are the equipments? Setuji, what are the dissolution of the equipments we're talking about? Of the equipments we spoke in the previous verse.
BMI, body, mind.
Body, mind, and intellect is one thing. What is the other thing? Gross, subtle, causal bodies. So in a larger sense, we can take, because when you say causal, it also involves the vasanas. So that on the destruction, so the vasanas, causal body, the mind and intellect, subtle body, the physical body is the gross body. So the all equipments refers to gross, subtle, causal. So when this is destroyed, he says, the sage becomes one with Vishnu. Again, even in Bhajagovindam, we said, Adi Shankaracharya says Vishnu. And here also, the same Guru says, Vishnu is the truth. Just to, what is the purpose, sir? For those who are not there, who didn't take a note.
To remove the pettiness between Saivites and the Vaishnavites.
To inject,
yeah.
To remove the pettiness, to inject the commonality. There is no difference, my dear. See the truth or the reality. Okay, very good, sir. So, and he compares that oneness of the oneness becoming like water with water. So water with water refers to the physical body. Light with light refers to the mind and intellect. Space with space refers to the Atman and Brahman. I repeat, water with water refers to the gross body. Light with light refers to the mind and intellect merging with the self. And space with space refers to Jama. Space with space refers to what?
The Atman, Guruji. Hariyom.
Yes, the Atman with
the Brahman.
With the Brahman. Okay, now the first is water with water. When you take a bucket of water from wherever, you have a bucket of water, and you mix that bucket of water. Before you mix, don't you see a difference? There is this bucket of water and there's a pond of water. There's separateness, isn't it? There's a sheet of water in the pond. There's a trough of water in your bucket. So there are two separate entities, isn't it? When you pour the bucket of water into the pond, UK, do you see the difference of the In fact, let's say you've taken the bucket of water from the pond itself. You see a separateness. And when you pour the trough of water into the pond, what happens?
You will not see any difference. It merges into that and it looks one and
it just merges, isn't it? There is no difference.
Yeah.
But when they are separated, you see a difference, isn't it?
yes, depending on the container it is in, there will be some difference.
It could be a mug, it could be a tumbler, it could be a bucket, but there's a difference.
Yes.
So the body refers to that body of water in the tub or in the bucket. The pond is the reality.
Reality, yeah.
So when the bucket of water poured back into the pond, it merges. There is no more difference.
Yes.
Similarly, when you realize with the self, the body becomes one with the Atman.
Yes. Yes, Guruji.
Now, what do you mean? Yes, I don't understand. Too many yeses coming.
This means it merges.
What do you mean? What do you understand? Sorry, Ma. What do you understand when it says body becomes one with the self? What do you understand by that?
Means the gross body vanishes and you just merge into the self, Guruji. Means it is there.
Yeah, you become a magician then.
No.
Suddenly body disappears.
Means it is there.
What spiritual magic is this?
No, Guruji, it is physically, it will be there, but your whole thing is merging into the self.
Adda, I don't understand. Can you please explain to me? What do you mean by a body becoming one with the Atman? Can you take the literal example of the body of water in the bucket merges with the pond and it is, you don't see a difference?
Yes.
Can you take that example literally, even though we are comparing it to the body? Can you take it literally? I don't think so. Then we'll come into what will happen. Suddenly body will disappear and then
no, it cannot. It cannot.
It cannot. Isn't it? So what does it mean when body becomes one with the self? What it only means, Ma, there is no more body consciousness.
Okay.
You have risen above the limitations of the physical body.
Okay.
You're no more confined to the physical body.
Yeah.
In terms of your thought, the physical awareness becomes
totally, it vanishes and you're
Therefore, you are very clear when you say, I am not the body.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Guruji.
Don't you say, I am not my house? You're living in your house.
That's all.
Your house is very dear to you, isn't it, Ma?
Yes.
You live in the house, isn't it?
Yes.
But are you the house?
No.
Why you're not the house?
Because it's just a matter of convenience, Guruji. We are just living in it. That's all. We are just using it as a matter of convenience. That's all.
So also your body is just a matter of convenience, my dear. Yeah. The Shastra is saying, please realize your body is always a matter of convenience. Yes. Okay. It is a vehicle, a tool to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Don't use it or abuse it to just satisfy its indulgences.
Yeah.
Use it as a temple. So you worship. And the highest form of indulgence is to the palate. Therefore, when you have annam or prasad, you pray, because I am giving into my senses. It is not for sensual indulgence, but just to sustain this body so that it helps me in the journey. Therefore, you chant the mantra before your food, just to alert you that I should not get carried away with the sensual pleasures.
Okay.
So the body consciousness is lost.
Yes.
The body awareness is lost. How? Just like you are being housed in your house and you know you are not the house, you are other than the house. Similarly, you are operating in the body, you are abiding in the body, but you are not the body. So a man of realization says with great certainty, I am not the body.
Okay.
Water with water means I am not the body.
Okay.
So age may be there. I am not confined and defined by the age. Oh, I'm getting old, you know what to do. I don't think I have many years left in me. Wow. I feel sorry about myself, can you also feel little sorry about me? Self-pity, and you want the whole world to pity you. I wish I can live a little longer. What? You're affected by the body. You're not the body. It's such a powerful statement. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am the true self. If you begin your day by saying this, we have to say this. Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nachabhuta Sangaha. That's the prayer in the ATMABODHA, the very first verse, isn't it? Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshu nama pekshoyam atmabodho vidhiyate. Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshaika sadhanam pakasya vahniva viramoksho na vedhyate. Siddhyate, yeah. So the first invocation we chant is Pratasmarami Yadi samspuradatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptamaveti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sanghaha. Now read the translation. Why do you stop sharing, Gayatri Ma? என்ன அவசரம் இப்போ பொண்ணுங்க அப்படி எடுத்துட்டீங்க. Prata, chant along with me. Pratasmarami. Padriji, you're not chanting. Pratasmarami hridi samsfuradatma tattvam satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam yat swapna jagara sushuptamaveti nityam tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sanghaha. So the last line he says, Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sanghaha. I am that indivisible Brahman and not this mere assemblage of elements. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. I'm not this intellect, which is nothing but the Panchabhuta, space, air, fire, water, earth have assembled to form this matter. I'm not this. I am that self. First thing you get up before you start your spiritual study, I believe you all are doing it 5 to 6. If you all have the luxury, do it from 4 to 5:45 or 4:15 to 5:45, 5:45, 1.5 hours. I think you should do that. If you do that, before you start this, chant the invocation and the first 2 mantras. You have just chanted. Chant, tell you, it just energizes you. And then get on with your study. In fact, I think we should implement this suggestion. Reddy Garu yesterday, when he met me, he was actually suggesting that perhaps we should change our classes from 1 hour 15 minutes to 1.5 hours. So we just give ourselves that 15 minutes more, so that perhaps we would be able to accommodate a little further clarification. I said we will certainly give it a thought. So maximum 1.5 hours, So we will not do that today, but maybe moving forward, we'll try to accommodate it, inform you all, and then we will implement it. Okay. So water with water refers to the gross body. Light with light refers to the mind and intellect. Right above me, there are a couple of lights, a few more, a couple of tube lights, and there's a light. Now, every light has a certain range. Beyond a point, it fades away. It doesn't reach, isn't it? Now, yet in this room, when these so many sources of light are coming, where does this light And where does that light take over? Can you draw that line? But he says they are different and yet they seem to be merging, isn't it? Now, what is the concept we were very familiar? Recently, we learned when the mind and intellect are integrated, when the emotion of the mind and the clarity of the intellect merge, you experience, Harishji, what do you experience? When you integrate your head and heart, what do you experience?
Total calm, and therefore you're able to.
I will lose my calm very soon because of the answer. When your head and heart merge, what happens? Ramji?
I think it is equanimity, Guruji.
I said when your mind becomes equanimous, when your mind becomes pure, injected with devotion, in fact, it's pregnant with devotion and thoughts of the Lord. So mind has got such, it's become very pure. And intellect is able to appreciate the highest of Vedantic thoughts. So when you bring in the purity of the mind and the clarity of the intellect, when there's integration happens, what do you experience?
Bliss.
Appa, blissa. Huh? What do you experience?
Freedom.
Freedom. I want freedom. Thala valikadu enaku. Talnostun GB Karao garu. Headache vastundi. I need freedom. Host, please end the class. What happens, Sudhakar garu? What happens when the head and the heart merge? Recently we spoke of it, didn't we? Detail.
We realize the self, we realize the Atman and Brahman.
No. You're missing something. Sai, what is that happens when you integrate your head and heart? Recently, Chippam Sai.
Yeah, clarity of thought, Guruji. We know.
See, clarity of thought is only of the intellect. The purity of the mind and the clarity of intellect, when they both come, what comes? Recently, we spoke.
We are driven to a higher purpose.
Not really. No mind. Glad you're participating. Yes, Reddy Garu.
Is it a perfect state of mind, Guruji?
Sir, can you repeat the question?
But when the head and heart.
When your mind reaches a perfect state of equanimity, serenity, purity, when the intellect is able to appreciate the highest, subtlest of thought, so the pure heart and the subtlest of intellect, the head and heart both come. What do you experience is the question. You're only talking of the mind. Everybody, even Badriji, sorry, not Badri, Ramji was saying, and Hariji went one step ahead and said bliss. No, it's not bliss. Bliss is the bliss of realization. So when he says light with light, the second light is the bliss of realization. The first light, like when we said water with water, the first bucket of water, the bucket of water is the gross body. The pond water is the self. Second light, light with light. The first light is dash. Second light is bliss of realization. So when the head and heart merge, Padmanima.
Ecstasy.
Thiripu sollungo.
Ecstasy.
Ecstasy. Did we not learn recently the difference between trance, ecstasy, and bliss? So, a spirit, wonderful Padmanima. So when the head and heart integrate, you experience ecstasy is a highly evolved spiritual state. So when a student has evolved spiritually and experiences an ecstasy, and when he transcends ecstasy, where would he meet? Hariji, when you transcend ecstasy, where do you go, Hariji?
You merge with the infinite.
Which is the
Brahman.
Infinite.
Infinite.
Which is
Self-realization.
Which is bliss.
Bliss. You see, okay, bliss.
Bliss. So trance merging with bliss is like light merging with light. So the trance is a very high evolved, so not trance, ecstasy. Thanks, Badriji. It's not trance. Trance, as we said, it's different. Ecstasy merging with bliss is light merging with light. Outstanding. You get, I tell you, you want to jump. I want to jump on the seat now. There's so much of joy. I hope this is the ecstasy. You know, it can't contain the gush of joy you feel when you are able to understand what these great men have said. Light with light. What do you mean light with light? It refers to the subtle body, the mind and intellect. What is mind and intellect? When mind and intellect come together, you experience that ecstasy. And ecstasy is that zenith of spiritual experience at the terrestrial level. So you have that extreme pure mind and extremely subtle intellect, and they come, you have the best of terrestrial experience. And when you cross that terrestrial limit, you get to the transcendental. So ecstasy is like the Vaga border. One step that side is you cross the border, Pakistan. I don't call that as bliss. I may call it as different thing, but wrong example. But just saying the border, you cross the border, you've gone to other transcendental. So that zenith of terrestrial experience, Hariji should be given the mic access. So zenith of terrestrial experience, you cross, you enter the realm of the transcendental. So that is light merging with light. But you don't know where this is ending, where that is beginning. Just example as that there's a bulb glowing, here. I don't know where that light from that tube is ending, where this light takes over. It is merging. There's oneness. Similarly, the ecstasy and the bliss is seamless, he says. Is seamless. So I don't know. You got to, I am getting excited. It is real joy, real joy, just to know what these people are saying. It takes so much just to get into these innocuous words and try to relate to what they're saying. It's not easy, please. It's not at all easy to just, you know, it's like I compare it to peeling a pomegranate. Each grain has got that layer covered. Each grain separates. Yes, Hariji.
At that stage, the sage sees the entire universe in himself and he everywhere, his own.
Yes, he's emerged, but that experience is there. He sees the self everywhere, but
Everywhere.
He's describing it from the physical perspective. Water with water is a physical body. There you see a separateness, but mind and mind, you don't see a separateness. Huh? You don't see the ecstasy and the bliss. Is almost, it is there, but yet you don't see it. There's a difference. All right, and then space with space. There is this, okay, let me put it, there's this container, all right? There's this jar of water. there is a space occupied by this jar, isn't it? So there is, I call this as a jar space. I call this as a office space. I would say hall space. I would say lounge space, etc. Isn't it? But yet we know the walls of the container has not divided space because space is indivisible. Am I right? Similarly, when the when the reality, mark my words, when the reality operates through the compartment of the body, mind, intellect, it is called the Atman. When the all-pervading reality functions through the body, mind, intellect, it is termed Atman. In other words, when the reality is operating through the microcosm, it is called Atman. Harishji, if you can just help everybody by just capturing that line phrase. So the phrase is, when the all-pervading reality expresses through the individual, which is the microcosm, it is termed Atman. When the same reality expresses through the cumulative, the totality, the same reality operates through the cumulative, the totality, the macrocosm, it is called Brahman. But yet the walls of the individuality has not divided the reality. I repeat, the walls of the individuality has not divided reality, just like the walls of this container has not divided space. Space is not divisible, but just for our convenience, we say this is house, this is a hall space, this is garage space, this is bedroom space, this is bathroom space, but the space is indivisible. Similarly, Atman merging with Brahman is like the pot space merging with total space is merging with space with space. Sushma ma, please don't hold your head, ma. If you do so, then I will feel very guilty. End of it. Samajh mein aa raha hai, ma? Or is it gone little too heavy? Could you please unmute yourself, ma? Yes.
Yeah, it's a little difficult for me to understand.
I am with you. I can understand. I only understood now. Therefore, I have that you can experience little childish excitement. You know, after reading so many times, I have only understood now. So I give you the benefit of doubt. When I come back again, I will clarify it. But given the chance, when you have access to the recordings, please listen it and try to capture some notes. And when I come back again, I shall touch upon it so that it will take care of areas which needs to be clarified. Okay, ma? Sorry, you have again muted yourself, ma. Could you please unmute yourself? Yes.
I said I always listen to the tape again, and
Wonderful.
maybe once or twice, because I get more clarity then. And even I'm writing, sometimes I can't write that fast. So when I listen to it again, then I can fill in the gaps. So I'll try
Amazing.
and do that again. And I hope
You
I'll
are
understand better.
You are an inspiration for every one of us.
I try my best.
No, you're an inspiration, ma. Just do that, and I'm certain wherever there are areas of clarification, it can be clarified. It shall be clarified. It's not something too difficult to fathom. It's just that perhaps when it comes all at a go, you may not be able to see where everything fits in. Okay, but we'll certainly come back to it. Okay, ma.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome, most welcome. So without your permission, I've extended the class today to 1.5 hours. So please pardon me for the delay, but I think it could be a reasonable thing to do extend, but since it will be difficult again to connect Maybe if I can have a show of thumb of those who are seen, you think we should extend by another 15 minutes? Can I have a show of thumb, please? Okay, all right. So I think we will make that adjustment in all our materials. So it's not 1 hour 15 minutes, it's 1.5 hours. Okay, and so that we can give us a little more breathing space. Okay, we don't have to rush into it. Yes, Ramji.
Really, perhaps when we do that, it might be worthwhile just categorizing last 10 minutes only for clarifications. Because that way people will get that exclusive time to ask questions and get clarifications on anything, which could be of even previous chapters, previous verses and things like that.
In fact, sir, I would recommend, in fact, I have always encouraged questions, as you see. I would prefer any questions from the text covered, not text not covered, until the text verse or that particular text were covered, or any section of philosophy in general could be asked before I start the text. Okay. Let's say, so moment prayer is finished, once the chanting is finished, we can have any number of questions. But once we get on to the text, I would limit the question or dialogue to the context of we are all in line, in queue. So instead of keeping the floor open at the end, I would keep it open at the front, in the beginning. Up front, you can ask questions from the previous session or from any other context, clarify that, and we move to the text. And it's not limited. We can take half an hour, 20 minutes, we can spend 45 minutes with the question. Doesn't matter. Even perhaps the whole class, if there are questions clarified, I'm fine with it, because that really helps to a student rather than me going on with the text.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Yes, Hariji.
I would suggest that since we are always having question answer session even during the class, you encourage the students asking questions. It would be ideal, according to me, that the last 5 to 6 minutes that you sum up. Many times what happens is when during the discussion, sometimes we may not be sticking to the same point, but if you give 5 minutes summing up of the thing so that those points which we have discussed in the class is highlighted from you.
I think it might seem a little unnatural, because we are going with a certain flow, and if I have to just recap all what I've said for that day again in 5 minutes, it might just leave the charm with which I have left you all with. For example, today we have left with water, light with light, space with space. I would just want that to linger and stay with you all. Then what I said in the beginning with wisdom vis-a-vis the expressions of helpless nature of vasanas. I think it just breaks the kind of the flow, even for me. I'm not saying you're wrong, but that might work well in a different context, but not in the way we're going. But however, I take your feedback, and wherever possible and however possible, we will try to mention that and accommodate it. There's no right and wrong. I'm only going with the flow, and I hope you can you respect that, and anyway, you are the person who's actually working on the takeaways from the ATMABODHA. So I know where you're coming from, but I am not going to help you there. No, I know you're not. I know you're not saying that. I know you're not
I didn't mean that at all, because
I know you're not saying that. It's just a light-hearted note, We're too serious. I tell you, we need to become little. No, I'm just kidding. No, I know. You're not saying that. Fair enough. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back. Okay, right. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.